Welcome to Buffalo Sports Insider, the show where we break everything down that matters to the 716 and beyond. I am Ali Wilson. I'm here with Jake Morse. Today we're diving into the most unpredictable NFL drafts in recent memory, from shocking picks to social media meltdowns to the 2025 draft. Had it all. Jake, to start it off, the number one overall pick, Cam Ward. What do you think about it?
I think Ward was obviously the home run pick. I mean, he's the number one overall for a reason. But I mentioned it on our live show that I do think he gives them the ability to kind of play however they want. And that's something they haven't had ever since Tannehill left. Tannehill wasn't anything phenomenal, but he gave them the ability to play from the pocket, play from outside, and do a lot of things that you don't normally see from pocket quarterbacks. I think Ward is going to give them that same ability that they've tried to do with Levis, but Levis just doesn't have the component to keep himself composed when he's on the move. So I think he's going to open up that offense a lot, and especially with the addition of Calvin Ridley last year, and then drafting Elikai Amanor, and after the draft signing Xavier Restrepo. I think it's setting Ward up for a phenomenal situation after they already rebuilt the offensive line as well.
And we've seen a trend for this draft where they had an emphasis on heavy men with the pass rush and offensive linemen. Did you think there was any offensive lineman picks that did not need to be picked for a team?
I think the Saints were one that really stuck out to me. The Kelvin Banks pick, I don't think was necessarily a bad pick or a bad fit, especially with the retirement Ryan Ramczyk. But I do think at 9, it was a little bit of a stretch to take him there. I think that was definitely a pick they could have traded down some. With so many top talent still available there, I definitely think with a draft class that was already weak and not having too many picks, I think trading back and he would still be there. So I do agree, though, it was a very deep edge class, and everyone wanted to get their premier edge rusher, and it caused some players like Mike Green to fall all the way from what was at one point a consensus top 5 pick to all the way down in the 40s to the Baltimore.
One of the biggest shockers from this draft was Shedeur Sanders falling to the 5th round, falling behind many quarterbacks this draft. Do you have anything to say about that?
Yeah, I think the Sanders situation is uniquely of its own, where we've seen draft falls, and we saw it. We mentioned Will Levis already, and we saw him fall out of the 1st round in the whole controversy around continuously showing him during his fall and how it's almost capitalizing on his misfortune. Sanders was a different situation because in the meetings in that, it was rumored that he just wasn't doing well in his combine meetings. And especially if you're not throwing at the combine and you're not doing anything really on field wise at your pro day, and then you blow the meetings, it doesn't set up well for a 1st round pick. And I think the 1st round pick was mainly just based off of not having too many quarterbacks in the class worth it. I do think he's a good talent, and I did have him in the 1st round in my mock draft. Falling to the 5th, I think it was just a simple matter of you draft starting quarterbacks in the 1st round. You don't draft backups. And I don't think any team was really looking at him to be a starter. I think once it got past the Rams and the Giants take Jackson Dart, no one was looking for him to be in that starting role. And so he just naturally fell. I do think Cleveland taking him after already have taken Dylan Gabriel is quite a shock, now having 5 quarterbacks in that room. But I do like the landing spot where he's going to have a fair shot in a 4-way QB battle.
With Steelers picks this draft, for me, I had running backs Cam Scatterbo out of Arizona State. I had a receiver Jimmy Horn out of Colorado, and a corner Will Johnson out of Michigan. These are players that were selected late that people thought could have been in the 1st round. What do you say about these picks?
Yeah, I really like the Will Johnson pick. I had him to the Raiders at 6, and he fell very far due to that knee injury, which I don't think will be as concerning, especially for zone schemes. I do like him going to Arizona, and I do like the almost passing of the torch with Patrick Peterson announcing that pick. But I think it was a great fit, and I do think they get a lot of value out of that, getting what was my corner 1 in the draft. And touching on one of the other ones, Scatabo was one. He was my RB2 this year, and I understand he doesn't have a breakaway speed, and everyone in the NFL wants breakaway speed. When you break those 2 tackles, 3 tackles, you got to put it in the end zone. I don't see the issue with not being able to put it in the end zone if you're still breaking 2, 3 tackles every time you touch the ball. So I thought of it in a matter of production over pure talent. Scatabo produces, regardless of how many people are in the box or what offense he's in. So I do like the Scatabo pick. One for me that rang out was Harold Fandon Jr. Won the Triple Crown among tight ends, led all of college football in catches and yards. He was absolutely phenomenal at Bowling Green. And I didn't see him falling all the way to the 3rd round. He was my tight end 1. And I think it's a good fit for him to go to Cleveland, especially with the Judkins pick. And I'm still having Judy. He's going to be a great safety valve for whatever quarterback ends up playing, while also putting that route running that he has that's not very fast. He ran a 4.8, I believe it was. So he's going to be able to get open in a lot of different ways. That's going to make whoever plays at quarterback in Cleveland very friendly with him.
Let's talk about the grades you gave for some of these people. I want to hear talking about the A+ grades and the B+ grades. Team you thought did well this year.
Yeah, I gave out 4 A+ this year. And I do think this year had a lot of talent. One of the last COVID years where you just have a surplus of good players. And those 4 teams I had were the Ravens, Patriots, Raiders, and Titans. And the Titans were pretty much a shoe-in for an A+. You have the first overall pick. As long as you don't royally mess everything up, I think you get an A+. So the Ravens were one where I ranked them as my top class. I think getting Mike Green in the 2nd and taking Malachi Starks to fill that 2nd safety role after cutting Marcus Williams is a phenomenal way to just completely rebuild that defense. And then LeJontay Wester, I think, is going to be a phenomenal piece for depth on offense. One of the ones locally, the Bills, I graded them at a B+, 14th overall. And purely just because I don't think they added enough talent on offense, but they fixed everything on defense, and they got a lot of role players that they needed. I think Hancock plays more safety than he does corner. I think Hairston is going to transition at least well into his own scheme, and I think Sanders and Deone Walker give us plenty of D-line depth.
Let's bring it back to the fan interactions with the Shedeur pick and how teams how fans considered that pick to be a steal, having an upside, but the narrative they're giving it is confidence versus arrogance. Do you think Shedeur can carry himself better, or ways he can handle it better that he can show future, how do you say?
Endeavors.
Yes, future endeavors.
I do think he can carry himself a little bit better in the manner of, I think he came to these meetings as, I don't need you, you need me. And that mentality just doesn't work in the NFL. And especially when he almost makes it a point to tell everyone that I can go back to college and make the millions of dollars I would on a contract anyway. I think that really hurt his stock. So I would like to see him take a little less of a I am the best quarterback in the league approach and kind of realize that he is a rookie. Now he's a 5th round pick, and he's got to kind of build his way up.
I've seen a trend where character issues and other things, well, character, how you carry yourself off the field, we'll see more of that into the next year's draft.
I do. I think it'll play more and more of a role as we go forward, especially with the Sanders one being blasted onto the grand stage.
The 2025 draft may be remembered for not who went first, but who slipped. The league now watches to see which of these rookies may either revamp their team or bring them down. Thank you guys for viewing this segment of Buffalo Sports Insider. We'll be back soon talking about the NBA playoffs.
How was school today?
It was good.
Did you play volleyball?
Yes.
How's your serve coming? I think we'll work on it this weekend.
Amy's slumber party is this weekend.
Is your homework done?
No.
That was the deal we made. If you do...
Like I know about it's NBA playoffs, so like we can pretty much have a conversation with that.
You wouldn't do that. So why do you do this? Distracted driving kills an average of 9 people and injures over 1,000 every day in America. Put down your phone. Lives depend on it. Don't drive intoxicated. Don't drive intoxicated. A sobering message from AAA.
You tuned in to Buffalo Sports Insider, where we just don't cover Buffalo sports. We cover the entire sports world with Buffalo Edge. I'm Ollie Wilson, and today we're shifting gears to the hardwood as the 2025 playoffs heat up, from jaw-dropping buzzer beaters to rising stars making their postseason mark. And this year's playoff picture is delivering drama at every turn. I'm here with Kevin McDermott and John LaScala, and we're going to talk about the NBA playoffs. So, guys, what are you guys saying about that buzzer beater with Aaron Gordon?
Buzzer beater with Aaron Gordon. I mean, not the guy you really expect to take that last shot for the Nuggets, considering they do have Nikola Jokic and Jamal Murray in their lineup. But I think it just kind of plays into how, a lot of things tend to go right for that Denver Nuggets team. And I think this team could go as far as the Western Conference Finals. Whatever happens after that, we'll have to see.
John, you have anything to say?
Yeah. No, if he actually got that off in time. I mean, I saw Jokic chucked up that shot, and I mean, he threw it down, but it seemed like his fingers might have been on the ball. But I mean, that's what the refs went with, and I mean, I can't really question it if they reviewed it. So, I mean, it was a great ending to the game, and that was just a wild game. That was a crazy ending.
Speaking of wild games, we've seen this last playoff game against the Detroit Pistons and the New York Knicks, and how it's heating up. It was down 3-1, got the win to go up. Now they're 3-2, and it's really a series now. John, what do you say about this Knicks game?
That was really close, wire to wire. I mean, I would say the Pistons held the lead the majority of the game, but having both of the last 2 games come down to one-possession games, this is probably the tightest series in terms of, like, how good the teams are. I mean, the Nuggets and the Clippers are at 3-2. The Pistons just made it 3-2. And I think that those teams are pretty evenly matched. And I think the Pistons are on the rise for the next couple of years.
Kevin, what do you think the Knicks need to either finish the series with the Detroit, or Detroit can what they have to do to finish?
I think really just need a fire lit under them, because the New York Knicks, I think, are one of the top teams in the Eastern Conference. I mean, you go out and you get Karl-Anthony Towns in the offseason, you get OG Anunoby, and then you bind together this great nucleus of players. I mean, I really do think they can make the Eastern Conference Finals. It's just finding that motivation to get them over the hump and, take down a very hot Detroit Pistons team.
Okay, going to the Lakers and the Los Angeles Lakers and the Minnesota Timberwolves, 3-1. Do you think LeBron James can get through this hump, or do you think this might be one of his last games of his career, John?
I think he's going to continue to play after this year. He's still playing great. I think he had a 40-point game in this series. It is a little surprising that they're down 3-1. I expected a better fight out of them from this. It's really just a killer that they don't have a center. Rudy Gobert is killing them in there, and they don't have any inside presence. If they did, I think that this series would be completely different. I mean, 2 of their losses have been real close. They just lost a game by 1 possession. And I think they'll be fine in the future, but right now they just have a couple problems. And I think in the next coming years, the Lakers are going to be really good with Luka.
Kevin, we're seeing the problem with the Lakers is their fourth quarter presence. They're getting outscored. They're in the game in the third quarter through and 4, and it gets to the fourth, and it's just I don't know what's happening. Can you tell me what's going on?
I think it's reliance on those offensive guys. I mean, you're relying on Luka Doncic to play over 40 minutes a game. LeBron James at 40 years old playing almost 40 minutes a game. I mean, they really don't have a defensive stopper. I wouldn't really categorize them as a defensive team. So, and defense is everything in the NBA playoffs. I mean, those last 5 minutes in the fourth quarter, that's really what the fans are tuning in to see. And that's really what it can all come down to. whether you're going to win a championship or not, what you do in those last 5 minutes of each game.
Well, yeah, we've seen LeBron, speaking of defense, you've seen LeBron has the most steals and blocks right now in playoffs, and he's 40 years old. This is his 22nd season. That just, I think, speaks to the greatness of what we're seeing. And soon, we don't know if it's going to last for too much longer. So, yeah, it's great to see LeBron going in this 2025 NBA playoffs. What matchups do you think we could see in the future, or who do you think might win this finals, John?
I'm really excited for the Cavaliers versus Pacers series coming up. Both teams took care of their first round matchups pretty easily. The Bucks stole one game from Indiana. The Cavaliers had, I think, the highest point differential in a series ever. And I think those two teams are going to be really good. Indiana just had a run to the ECF last year. And I think that's going to just be a battle to get back to the Eastern Conference Finals.
Calvin?
I'm not quite sold on these Pacers. I mean, they have a lot of good personnel, but I just don't really feel like this could be the team to really take down a Knicks or a Celtics, because on the other side of the Eastern Conference, it's going to be Knicks or Pistons up against the Celtics. I do think it'll be the Celtics. So I think whoever comes out of that series inevitably will win the Eastern Conference. Going out west, I mean, OKC, they're either going to get Denver or Los Angeles. With a hurt Kawhi, I'm going to have to put all my chips on Denver in that series. And with the Wolves 3-1 on the Lakers, I mean, they're going to have either Golden State or the Rockets. So I think it's a real toss-up right now. But if I had to pin it down to two teams, I got to go Celtics Nuggets going into my 2025 NBA Finals.
Talked about the Pacers and the Bucks. We talked about the controversy coming from that team. With after the Pacers win the game, we had Tyrese Halliburton's father come onto the court and have an altercation with Giannis. John, do you have anything to say about that?
That was one of the weirdest things I've ever seen. He just ran out there and started talking to Giannis. I've never really seen anything like that before, but I think he handled it real well. He didn't even say anything. He just looked at him, and there's really not much you could do in that situation other than just accept what was happening. But that was very strange, and hopefully that never happens again.
Well, that's all the time we have for this segment. It was, I'm Ollie Wilson. This is John LaScala and Kevin McDermott coming from you from Buffalo Sports Insider, and we'll be right back after these short messages.
How was school today?
It was good.
Did you play volleyball?
Yes.
How's your serve coming? I think we'll work on it this weekend.
Amy's slumber party is this weekend.
Is your homework done?
No.
That was the deal we made. If you do...
Hi, Lauren. My name is Katie. We're going to take care of you, okay? Ready? 1, 2, 3.
Very right.
You wouldn't do that. So why do you do this? Distracted driving kills an average of 9 people and injures over 1,000 every day in America. Put down your phone. Lives depend on it. Don't drive intoxicated. Don't drive intoxicated. A sobering message from AAA.
How was school today?
It was good.
Welcome.
Did you play volleyball?
Welcome back to Buffalo Sports Insider, where the action is always live and takes are always sharp. I'm Ollie Wilson, and tonight we're hitting the ice, talking about the NHL playoffs. The race to the Stanley Cup is officially in full throttle. Overtime thrillers, clutch goaltending, and physical play that remind us of playoff hockey is the best in sports. We'll break down the top contenders, shocking upsets, and what it all means for the league. Thomas, can you start this discussion with us and who you think might win the Stanley Cup?
I think there's two really clear contenders as of right now, and that is the Florida Panthers and the Dallas Stars. The Dallas Stars are one of those teams in this year's playoff where you can really see them do everything. They fought through the adversity of getting stomped in game one on home ice, back-to-back wins in overtime, show their physical toughness to be able to make it through those games in gritty fashion. And then on top of that, the biggest thing about this Dallas Stars team is they have the experience. They have the goaltending like Jake Ottinger to get over the hump, and I think that this could finally be their year after losing to Edmonton in the conference finals when McDavid just went absolutely insane last season. And then in the Eastern Conference, I do think that it's the Florida Panthers as of right now. 3-1 series lead on Tampa Bay, who in my opinion is the second best team in the conference, says everything you need to know about this Florida Panthers team. They made the Stanley Cup final each of the last 2 seasons, losing to Vegas and then winning it all last year in 7 against Edmonton. Don't be surprised if they make it back there this season once again.
Kyle, do you think there's any team that's surprising or a sleeper that could make it to that Stanley Cup?
Yeah, hear me out. The Ottawa Senators right now are down 3-2 in their series with Toronto, but they were down 2-0 at one point. The Senators team is very young and they have a good defensive core. Again, Trent Dillingham is there as well, giving them some extra strength. Again, the Leafs are true artists, so if by some way they are able to beat the Leafs and advance, I can see this team making a run. Again, they're young, they're talented. They haven't been there in recent times, but I could see them being a sleeper team for sure.
Are there any special games that we've seen this playoffs that is like very intriguing, Thomas?
I think there's been a couple different ones. Obviously, the big playoff games that we've seen are mostly overtime games. And one thing I'd like to mention here is the Minnesota Wild and the Vegas Golden Knights series. It was once 2-1 in favor of the Minnesota Wild heading into Game 4 on home ice, overtime, and they ended up losing that game. Game 5 in Vegas, who is the winningest team in the league this year at home. They bring them to the brink once again, score a goal with a minute and a half left. It gets called back due to an offside call. Not sure how crazy that is to some people, but that is a big deal. Vegas goes on to win the game, and that is going to be forever remembered as one of the best challenges in their team's history, winning that game. Back-to-back overtime games. This series can't be any closer than it has been to me at this point. I know we've had a couple games early on in the series that weren't as close, but these few games at the end here have really made up for it, as I understand that Minnesota's a younger team. They haven't been here before too often, but Minnesota is giving Vegas all they can handle, and I think it's showing the weaknesses that Vegas has.
What do you think comes out of that series?
I unfortunately do think that it's going to be the Vegas Golden Knights, a 3-2 series lead. 83% of the time, the team that has a 3-2 series lead wins the series, and I think that stays true in this one. Minnesota is going to battle tooth and nail in Game 6, especially on home ice once again. I think it's going to be a 1, maybe 2 goals if there's an empty net goal, but I do think that Vegas does close it out in 6 games.
Speaking on another 3-2 series lead, we have the Los Angeles Kings versus the Edmonton Oilers. EDM leads 3-2. Kyle, you have anything to say about that?
Yeah, it's a tough time to be a Kings fan. Edmonton is their enemy. They've eliminated them a couple times in the last few years in the playoffs, and I think it happens again, unfortunately, for the Kings. Edmonton has caught fire in the last couple of games. The Kings look good in the beginning of the series. I was actually pretty shocked. I had Edmonton winning that series from the get-go, but man, the Kings certainly look good to start that, but Edmonton's been good, and of course, they have Connor McDavid, Leon Draisaitl. It is really hard to beat that team. So I think Edmonton wins that series in 6 games.
You can talk some Sabres hockey for next season. Like, do you see any changes that can be made for the team that can help them reach playoffs next year?
Well, I do think there's a lot of different things that need to happen for the Sabres, but I think that 2 big things going into this offseason that the team is going to try to target is a second-line center. Obviously, Josh Norris is somebody we just got in a trade, but I don't know if he's the answer considering his durability issues. And then on top of that, the biggest need on the Buffalo Sabres right now, in my opinion, is the right shot defenseman, number 1 pairing, to be up there with Dahlin, or even Owen Power on line 2, for goodness sakes. We just need a defensive player. We need somebody that can actually move the puck and move on offense as well. Rasmus Anderson in Calgary really comes to mind there for a situation that I would like a lot. But if you look at one other thing that a lot of people aren't talking about too much, that's the goaltending. I think we need to bring in a more viable option at number one goalie for next season. With Luukkonen struggling this year and Levi still not developing as planned, I think that the goaltending issue is going to have to be met in this offseason.
I completely agree with that. And I will add, if we could just have a season without a 10-plus game losing streak, I think this team could finally sneak into the playoffs. So a whole lot of changes need to be made. But, yeah.
Well, that is all the time we have here today for this segment, talking about NHL playoffs and the ice. It's Ollie Wilson here with Cal McTeague and Thomas Bailey. And this is Buffalo Sports Insider. We'll be right back after these messages. Jeez.
How was school today?
It was good.
Did you play volleyball?
Yes.
How's your serve coming? I think we'll work on it this weekend.
Amy's lumber party is this weekend.
Is your homework done?
No.
That was the deal we made. If you do...
Hi, Lauren. My name is Katie. We're gonna take care of you, okay? Ready? 1, 2, 3.
You wouldn't do that. So why do you do this? Distracted driving kills an average of 9 people and injures over 1,000 every day in America. Put down your phone. Lives depend on it. Don't drive intoxicated. Don't drive intoxicated. A sobering message from AAA.
I'm good. Welcome back to Buffalo Sports Insider. Today we're talking about a team no stranger to spotlight in Buffalo, the Buffalo Bandits. They're back in playoffs and making some serious noise in the National Lacrosse League once again, with a passionate fan base behind them and their roster stacked with talent and grit. The Bandits are on a mission to bring back another championship to Buffalo. Can they finish what they started last season, or we're breaking down some of the matchups and stars stepping up what it'll take to bring the cup back home? With the game with the Buffalo Bandits in San Diego, it's a low-scoring game. They beat the San Diego Seals 5-4. Thomas, can you go more into detail about that game?
That game was a barn burner all the way to the end. Don't be shocked, though. The 5-4 final doesn't indicate the whole story. It was 5-3 all the way up until 2 seconds left when they ended up scoring a goal to make it a 1-goal game. It was not as close as it looked. And then on top of that, I would like to also mention the fact that we also had the lowest scoring NLL game in history, and it happened in a playoff game. I think that everybody talks about the premier scoring of Josh Byrne and Dane Smith on this team, tying for league lead in points this year with 134 each. Absolutely dynamic duo. But one thing that always gets overlooked is the goaltending of Matt Vince. 48 saves in this game, a career best, 4 goals allowed in 4 quarters. That's only a goal per quarter, folks. The average lacrosse game has around 10 to 12 goals, so the fact that it's only 4 is an absolute anomaly that needs to be talked about more often, and it just shows how experienced and how good this Buffalo Bandits team is, being able to go out there and win games 5-4 instead of a shootout like a 15-12 game, and that's something that a lot of fans and people around Buffalo that don't see the games too often are kind of overlooking about this Buffalo Bandits team, and this is a big reason why a lot of people think that they could end up with a three-peat in the NLL playoffs.
Now let's shift it over to the upcoming series that we have going on with, the Vancouver Warriors, who have just beat the Rochester 15-10. And this is a familiar opponent because Buffalo has faced them and we have lost to them 13-12 in the last times we faced this team. Jack Hyde, would you have anything to say about this?
I mean, just need the team and players to step up as a whole, honestly. You know, you got Josh Burns, who's contributed to a team high of 44 goals. You also got Mac Vink, who's secured, 13 wins for the Bandits, in between the goal. And then, you got Steve Priolo, who's, providing veteran leadership, which is really big for them. And, especially with the fans at an all-time high with the Bandits as they are right now, you gotta keep rooting for them, and we want to see them go as far as they can. And if they win 3 NLL titles, they'll be the first people to do it since the Rochester Nighthawks, and so that'll be pretty interesting to see if it does happen.
Thomas, do you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, I think that this series is going to be an absolute blast. Vancouver's one of the newest teams in the NLL across the league. And because of that, I do think that this is going to be a fun series. Like you mentioned before, 13-12. The Bandits lost just 3 weeks ago to this Vancouver Warriors team, and it was at home. So the Bandits being at home for both of the 1 and 3 games, if we get to game 3, is an interesting thing as well. But the main thing I want to talk about here is Keegan Ball. He is a forward for the Vancouver Warriors, and he is going to be the guy that the Buffalo Bandits are going to have to zero in on. He had 11.6 goals in their win over the Rochester Nighthawks in round 1, 15 total goals in that game. He had 11, resulting in either an assist or a goal for him. That is an amazing stat line for him. And on top of that, he was no slouch this year, finishing 6th in the league as well with 112 points. So you have to mention him. And then on top of that, for the Buffalo Bandits here, if you take a look at their side, Matt Vince is going to be a big telltale to if Buffalo can get over the hump and get back to the NLL Finals for the fourth consecutive year. This would be their 3rd consecutive final if they can do it. They would either play the Saskatchewan Rush or the Halifax Thunderbirds in the NLL Finals in a best-of-3 series. So hopefully the Buffalo Bandits can push through.
Well, that's a wrap for this edition of Buffalo Sports Insider. Thanks for riding with us as we broke down the chaos of the 2025 NFL Draft, the Buffalo Bandits charging through the NLL playoffs and the NHL playoffs and headlines. From national headlines to hometown heroes, we've got you covered every step of the way. I'm Ollie Wilson here with Thomas Bailey and Jack Hyde. And this was Buffalo Sports Insider. Have a great day.
How was school today?
It was good.
Did you play volleyball?
Yes.
How's your serve coming? I think we'll work on it this weekend.
Amy's slumber party is this weekend.
Is your homework done?
No.
That was the deal we made. If you do...